Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. We're going to talk about Harvard. All right. So, basically, I think there's two lessons when we think about Harvard that we can think about when we talk about our Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition games and how to understand Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. So, one, in the doobly-doo below, you will find a very fascinating article, a very fascinating video that prompted this video from me. And it was a person who graduated from Harvard and her asking the question, was it worth it to go to Harvard, right? So I kind of was like, is this going to be a waste of my time? And I really thought the video was going to be a waste of my time. And to my point, right, it wasn't a waste of my time, but I'll explain how we get there that it wasn't a waste of time. She actually says in the video, she said, now you could watch this video without context of that video because I'm going to give a summary of it. But I encourage you to listen to it because it prompted this video, which means it was definitely interesting enough for me to talk about it, right? So I think it's an interesting video and you're welcome to watch it below, or you can just listen to my summary of it here, either way, right? All right, so basically, this girl spends 13 minutes discussing whether it was worth it to go to Harvard. And I'm like, can we just not do this video and file it under yes, right? And that seemed to be the case, right? Like, at the end, she says, my career has been helped massively. Harvard opens doors that no other school in the world will open, and the privilege, power, and prestige of Harvard is incredibly real. I'm like, again, we can file that under duh. Why did you even make this video, right? And so let's talk for 1 second about, for a little more than 1 second about clickbait, right? Like, so, was it just done for clickbait to get views? Because, like, you just told everybody that it's worth it to go to Harvard. I don't think you need to tell anybody in the world that, right? Like, there's a line to get in, right? It's very long, or like, so... So one, I struggle with clickbait as well. I very much try not to make clickbait titles. It's a temptation for everybody. So, it's a little frustrating. Like, it was frustrating watching a video that said, yeah, it's worth it to go to Harvard. Like, I'm like, ugh. So why are we talking about it? Well, there were two things in there, okay? I did listen to her. So what's her point, right? Her point could not possibly be it's worth it to go to Harvard because everybody knows that, right? Well, what her point is, when I listened to the video, I think her point is, I wish I could have gone to Harvard and I wish I could have been comfortable doing it. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, it's not enough to get the privilege and prestige of Harvard? You also think it should have been comfortable? Right? Like, okay. So let's talk about that from a Dungeons & Dragons perspective, all right? I struggle with a lot of my comments. People are like, Scott, why don't you be just like every other reviewer in the world and say that D&D is a game and that all we need to do is make our players happy, right? Like, as dungeon masters. And I'm here. I'm the only person on the internet saying your table is not enough, right? I am calling everybody to play Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition because it's the only game in the world right now where the impact goes beyond the table. When you run a good Dungeons & Dragons game with 5th edition, what you are doing impacts the entire society. It impacts America directly, and because the whole world is following in America's footsteps, it impacts the world, right? And I'm the only person on the internet saying impacting your players for good is not enough. It's not enough, right? You need to impact America directly and the whole world indirectly, right? The benefits of your Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition game need to expand beyond your players. The table is not enough. It's the world we're trying to impact, right? And I get so frustrated with people because nobody's getting it, right? Like, actually, one person actually just said, yes, somebody in the comments, it was incredibly refreshing, said, yes, D&D is a life path for me. And it acknowledged it, right? I was like, thank you, right? Like, go talk to a Harley Davidson owner, right? Ask them if that's a product, right? They'll tell you it is a way of life, right? Like, it's very real, right? So, and I think that's the thing is I get so frustrated that nobody's getting what I'm saying, right? And I realize the reason I get so much pushback is I'm calling people to not be comfortable. This woman went to Harvard, and essentially her video was like, what if I could have went to Harvard and it wasn't hard and I was comfortable? Yeah, you can ask for that, but like, wasn't the prestige, the power, and the privilege enough, right? And that's what I'm telling you out there, right? You're right. I get why people are upset and angry, upset, right? Upset in my comments, because I'm calling them to be uncomfortable, right? To realize that the impact they are called to create with their Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition game, with their tabletop role-playing game sessions, which can only be accomplished with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, because it's the only game the world actually knows, right? Outside of the TTRPG community, that I'm calling you to more, right? And that is uncomfortable, okay? All right. Now let's talk about this woman's video from the full perspective of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Guess what? Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition is the Harvard of tabletop role-playing games. And get this, it doesn't cost a cent more to play Dungeons. In fact, it's free. You can play Dungeons & Dragons for 5th edition for nothing, right? So if you have a choice of where you go to college and you get to choose and cost is not an issue, why would you possibly not choose Harvard? And that's what I'm telling you. When you waste your time playing games other than Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition at your 51% level, right? When you have a primary game that is not Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, you are choosing to go to East Jabip Community College when you could go to Harvard for free. This is the key, right? This is the beauty of what Gary Gygax created. He created this thing that's so powerful that we can do it for free. There's a free, online, we can print out, actually at the SRD and play at our tables for nothing, right? So if you could go to Harvard for nothing, why on earth would you go to another college? It doesn't make any sense. You should go to, so if you are now if you can go to college and the price is paid wherever you choose to do, don't go to East Jabip, right? Community college. Go to Harvard, right? That's the issue. It will put you in a position to succeed, and that's what I'm saying. When you make Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition your primary game, and you shove off all these other games, right? You then arrive at this space where your life is then transformed. Exactly the way the woman in this video says, my life was she said, she doesn't say my life was transformed. She said, by going to Harvard, my career has been helped. And I have power, prestige, and privilege. Very real, right? So if you have the opportunity to be gifted power, prestige, and privilege from going to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition rather than going to these many, many, many other games that simply cannot accomplish what Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition can accomplish, you should definitely go to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. The cost isn't any higher, right? It's the same amount to play, play Dungeons & Dragons as any other tabletop role-playing game at the end of the day, because you could literally take the cost to zero, right? So that's what I'm saying is, make sure you're not choosing the community college when you can have Harvard for free, right? So many thanks to the lady who made that awesome Harvard video. I really thought this. I know what this is going to say, and there's going to be no value in me watching it. I was right. I knew what she was going to say. I was wrong. There was value in watching it, right? Because the lessons are, one, if you could choose to go to Harvard for free, and that's where we are with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, go to Harvard for free, right? And then also, it helped me understand why I get so much pushback. And I'm trying to be more calm about it, right? And like not get upset when people are like, Scott, you're stupid or you're insane. I get that a lot. Right? It's upsetting, right? So and I'm like, why are people saying this? And now I know, because I'm calling them to an uncomfortable space, and people do not want to be uncomfortable. This lady was like, I went to Harvard, and you know what? That wasn't enough. I really wanted to go to Harvard, and I wanted to be comfortable. I didn't want to be pressed, and I didn't want to be in a hard place, right? Like, and I'm like, wow, okay. Like, I guess prestige, power, and privilege weren't enough, right? Like, it was like, oh, okay, I guess I get it, right? But like, it really gave me this strong understanding that People want to be comfortable, and when you call them to a space that brings them out of their comfort zone, you're going to get pushback, right? So that helps me be more calm and more understanding of people who are getting upset and they're like, Scott, why aren't you like every other channel? Why don't you just tell me that I can play whatever I want? And why don't you just tell me that any game I choose is equal to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition? And why don't you tell me that impacting just my players is enough, right? First of all, if you want that, you can find it anywhere, right? You're not going to find it here. Right? And I think it's okay for there to be one channel on the internet that's saying, no, it's not enough. You need to be uncomfortable. You need to accomplish more. You need to do more. That's my opinion. I'm willing to hear you. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a very wonderful millennium.